So I am no longer unseen, unheard, and my story is about to be told. So I've smoked for 45 years, and this is a story about triumph, about overcoming that addiction. And I'm not going to look at my notes. I'm going to just speak from my heart, because this is where the truth gets told. And the reason why I'm speaking from my heart is because that's where the energy is coming from and the story's coming from, because words have so much power. And I learnt through this process that the words that we say, if they're squashed, they become untold, and truth gets told in a different way and people's hidden agendas. So my smoking journey is so important because it was hiding pain. And I want to show other people how they can relieve their pain by speaking the truth. And I started smoking when I was 12 years of age. And I used to puff on cigarettes. I would start smoking after school. I was only 12 years of age. And I would smoke menthol. I'd be going puff, 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 puff. And then I'd go straight to Virginia, puff, 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 one to the other. I'd go one cigarette to the other cigarette. And it was in the back of a sports shed. Sorry, they've got flies here. And I would smoke on my way home and then have oranges to squash the smell and the taste in my mouth so no one could know that I was smoking. How I got away with that, I don't know. And as the years went by, I thought I could always stop smoking. I thought I had control. But I didn't realize that with addiction, nicotine had already grasped me from the first cigarette. And what I thought was every time that I tried to stop smoking, I thought at 20 I'd be able to stop. I couldn't. At 30, I was smoking more cigarettes than I ever had. I was smoking more than a packet a day. I was probably smoking 40 or 50 cigarettes a day. And then by the time I got to 50, I thought, I have tried so hard to try and stop smoking. I tried patches, I tried hypnotherapy, and I couldn't be put under. I tried medication, tablets, everything I possibly could. Nothing seemed to work. And I thought and was made to feel a failure, because the whole system of smoking is, yes, it is an addiction. There's so many elements to addiction, is that there's the psychological part to the addiction, but there's also the chemical reaction in the body. I was only getting taught how to deal with the chemical reaction in my body, not with the psychological aspect. And the patches that were being stuck on me were only a temporary measure to stop the pain of the nicotine. But what I was assimilating it with was with the pain of why I started in the first place. And as I got older, when I was 48, some of my siblings started to get breast cancer and other cancers. And it was later on that I got notified that I had to have urgent genetic testing because there's a default gene in our body that could lead to many cancers. So I decided to go. I would be brave and go and have the tests. Then my mum passed away, and she was 95. She lived a long life. And then the next day I got the results of my test. I had a 50% chance. And it was pretty tough. And I went by myself. And I saw the doctor at the door and I went, right, I'm positive. And he sat me down and I didn't hear a word then, anything that he said. It just I went silent. And I knew then I was in a lot of trouble, because this particular defective gene, it wasn't just breast cancer, it was ovarian cancer, it was many cancers. And he said, and if you smoke, you're at a high risk. And I just internally almost died, because I thought I have been trying to stop smoking since I was starting at 12. So one of the many people that I spoke with said, surgeons and professors, they all wanted to prod and probe me for 12 months. I had so many appointments, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. And they said, one of my surgeons said, touched me on the hand and she said, I know you've tried so many different ways to stop smoking, but I just need you to find another way. And it was through the gentle touch and her words that she spoke with love. In finding another way was the magic words that I hadn't heard. I hadn't heard before, finding another way. And I had been doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I thought, this is stupidity. This is absolute stupidity. I didn't think I was stupid. I thought the system's stupid. It's broken. We cannot help smokers stop smoking if they're failing over and over again with the same tools. So I was then empowered with a quest for myself to save myself because my partner has cancer and I could feel and it was going to come back. And it was coming back. And I thought, I have to find a way to be brave, to find a way to stop smoking. And I'm going to have all the surgeries to prevent me getting sick because I need to be ready to look after her when her cancer returns, because last time I nearly lost her. So I decided to go on this journey and I went on this quest and I looked everywhere on the internet. And I was looking at the how to stop smoking. How do I stop? And then I realized, and I couldn't find much material. I thought, really, it was, why did I start to smoke in the first place? Because I knew why I had to stop, but why did I start? Why was I, not, I was avoiding it. And it was the elephant in the room. It was because when I was 12, I started smoking because I was being sexually abused at home. And this story is not about the abusers. It's about what it did to me. And there was more than one abuser. But what had happened as a result of that, I would hide smoking as it was my coping mechanism. And I would go home and I couldn't deal with the pain. And by the time I was 16, I was smoking so many cigarettes and drinking lots of alcohol. And internally, I was not able to cope. And I have a younger brother and sister. And I thought, I've had enough. I need to protect them more. I couldn't cope. And so I went to the authorities after some encouragement from one of my school friends. And I thought that would be the day, but actually that was the day that everything started to turn to shit. I was taken from the family home. From my choice, I went to boarding school because I felt protected, because I felt threatened if I went to a friend's place, I might get threatened, or my family might get threatened. So I went to boarding school, but beknownst to me, it was run by nuns and they were beautiful, beautiful people. But parts of the Catholic Church isn't so beautiful. And the priest that was sent, and one in particular, every day to me, that I had to profess and confess my sins and take on the guilt and forgive to what happened to me. It was that strong. It sickened the nuns. They were so angry. And they would give me cigarettes every day to help me cope. They would confiscate them from the other girls and give them to me in the principal's office and let me smoke. They felt the guilt of the shame that the priest was giving to me when it was not my fault. They could see as women I was being still abused by the church. And as a result, one of the nuns left the establishment after that. But I couldn't cope and I tried to commit suicide. And after spending a couple of days in hospital and being still separated from the ones that loved me within the family that did look out for me, I was also excluded from any outside help. And after a couple of days and I was sent back to boarding school, I was then picked up by my mum and we went on a train trip. And on this train trip, I was led to believe I was going to stay with a brother to go on a holiday. But when I got off the train, I was taken to a psychological facility and I was committed and my mum left. It was against my will. and I was 16. If I thought I smoked before heavily, I was smoking 40 to 50 packets of cigarettes a day. And it was in this facility is when my whole life turned to shit. I saw kids who had ADHD getting electric shock treatment. They call it deep sleep therapy. I saw gay guys getting absolutely electrocuted and heaps of medication. I knew I was already gay, and I certainly shut up. I knew not to say anything, and then I was threatened if I didn't speak, I would get the electric shock as well. I was heavily medicated, and I learned how to hide the medication under my tongue and spit it out. I needed to have my wits about me to protect myself. I needed to be fully aware that the people around me did not have my best intentions. I was there for months, and I would cry out every night for help. I prayed, and some of my family were allowed to visit, and I begged them to get me out. One of my family members was successful in getting me out under their protection. Then I was able to go back home after my father nearly died. I went back to school, and because a lot of them had been writing to me, couldn't believe what was happening, and they stood up and just applauded me to walk back into the school. I was still supposed to be heavily medicated. I was lucky to get my schooling finished, and but they said, don't bother going on to any further education because they didn't think I could learn. I proved them wrong. I left home at 16 and I started looking after myself. I had 20 jobs in the next 2 years, and then I finally got a job in the government, the tax office, and I learnt my way through. I learnt everything I could about computers, about systems, about being in business, about being in government, about being a good person. But I also had my warriors in there too. But I knew I had to stop smoking. So fast forward to now. How did I stop? Well, I had to deal with the devil, because the devil was in my family. And I stood up and I said, no more. I have to speak up for the rest of the kids in the family because I know I wasn't the only one. I stood up before and I'm standing up now for other people and other children who have been hurt. I stopped smoking because I found a way. I didn't listen to any of the people. I listened to their lies before. I found a way, and after 2 weeks, I stopped smoking. I didn't have any withdrawals. Are you a person that needs to stop smoking? Do you need help? Because I can help you. I have been in the darkest places and I can help you stop addiction. I know I can improve on that, but that's my heart.